So last week after we recorded the podcast, I had my phone up all the way because, you know, we do the beeps to sync up the episode. And then I went out after the podcast and I was looking at the internet and it started playing a video, and it was a video of animals making weird noises. And it scared the hell out of everybody in the living room with me because it was like loud duck eating watermelon and peas noises. Like, I'm not going to make the noise, but it was you should just Google ducks eating watermelon. It's pretty good.
Way ahead of you, buddy.
But you watching the watermelon ducks?
Maybe. Look,
I love a watermelon duck.
I'm not here to divulge my extracurricular activities, but
look, chinchillas doing dust baths, always good.
I've never understood that. Owning guinea pigs got us adjacent enough to chinchilla care that I came across like chinchilla facts on the regular.
Oh yeah, no, it's a commitment.
And the dust bath thing, like it sounds kind of cool in a way, but I don't know.
There's a woman that we follow that my daughter and I watch sometimes that has chinchillas, and like she's a good chinchilla influencer because her thing is, nobody should get chinchillas because like you have to keep your house at 60 degrees or they die.
Oh, what?
Well, because they're from the Andes,
man.
So it's hot. It's high and cold.
Yeah, sure.
And like she has to wear she wears a respirator and has a broom in her house that's basically like, here's where the chinchillas get their dust baths.
That's intense. Guinea pigs are also from the Andes, but maybe like the lower Andes because it's not quite that restrictive. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, they're all rodents in arms. That's right. It's just how it is.
They are going to rise up one day.
Okay, so I have a confession.
All right.
I guess.
Yes.
I started the call today by saying I discovered I had 277 tabs open in Firefox.
Uh-huh.
That was too many tabs.
I think you can do better than that. You know what that sounds like to me? A good start. Ha ha ha.
It took me an hour to trim it down. Now I'm only like 2 pages on my scroll. So
I mean, what is that? That's saved tabs, I assume. You're not hibernating and resuming every day with a running ephemeral browser session, right? Like those are actually saved and will restart on another machine and so forth.
Now, see, it's interesting you say that. It is an eternal session.
Wait.
I never clear my Firefox session.
Wait, this is literally one process that's been running for...
Well, no. I mean, I turn off the computer every night. So
hard shut off.
I just restore the session. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean. They're saved tabs.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying.
Well, but
I mean, what I mean is like literally the same process ID running for days or weeks at a time. Like you start a browser and it's that process running and doesn't get closed and just gets shut down. I mean, not shut down, but hibernated and resumed, like I said.
Look, man, I'm paying 78 cents per kilowatt hour here. I can't afford to leave a computer running 24/7. Are you kidding?
Well, you can sleep it. You can hibernate it.
It's still, it's not worth 10 watts to, but the tabs restore when I start. It's comes right back.
Yes,
right?
That's what I meant about this is a session being restored, not one browser running eternally, which is kind of horrifying when you think about it.
Yeah, I thought about, because you can do those you can do like the tab groups now in pretty much all major browsers, I think, where I could save these and move them from computer to computer, but the tabs are machine specific. It's like, hey, here's how do I get my NVIDIA driver passed through the kernel or whatever on this one and so on and so forth. But I just realized on the Windows PC, eventually Firefox would start to get kind of chuggy if I had too many tabs open. And on the Linux machine, and that's usually my sign to like, trim the fat a little bit. And on this one, it hasn't been a problem. So I've just been like, I have tabs that are a month and a half old over here. And anyway, I got to come up with a new strategy, I guess.
How many windows are we talking?
One.
What?
What? How many windows do you have open?
Does Firefox have some facility for showing tabs you've got open? Like Chrome does the same thing. I love that the tab bar where the tabs live is no longer sufficient for the way that people use browser tabs. And now we need a second facility for showing you the tabs you have open besides the tabs you have open.
Look, there are a lot of tab crimes happening, but I am not a monster with like 15 browser windows open. You can't do that because then it doesn't restore right? You close the wrong window and your whole thing gets out of whack, and then you lose the window that has the pin tabs, which realistically is the important one.
I've got two browser windows open right now.
Madness.
With I've got maybe some total of like 8 tabs open on my machine at this moment.
So the problem with Firefox, I mean, actually, there's a lot of problems with Firefox. We haven't talked about this yet, but they're AIing the crap out of Firefox, and it's kind of jacking it up. I got to find a new browser.
Yep. Good luck with that.
But the other thing is, they have the view recent browsing across Windows and devices. That's the one that shows you the synced tabs from other devices, which is really useful, as well as like recently closed tabs and currently open tabs. And that's how I got the list with like the 277 tabs in it. The other thing is they have this side panel that pops out where there's a bunch of AI crap I've turned off, but that also has tabs from other devices. And then it also has history and it has bookmarks. And then there's a drop down on the far right side of the top of the window that just has the scrollable list of all the tabs. But realistically, when you type anything in the location bar, it also searches the tabs now. Mm-hmm. So if I have something that's close, if I need to find a tab, I just type for the thing I'm looking for, it pops up, or I just open a new tab because tabs is free, baby.
If you are searching and it's opening a tab that was open because you searched,
yeah,
what was the point of leaving that tab open in the first place?
Well, because it wouldn't have the tab search wouldn't have come up. It doesn't search history; it only searches open tabs.
It doesn't search history. This is a tab specific search. This is not a global.
Tab. Well,
I thought Firefox was the innovator. If I remember, didn't they call it? This is such a like mid 2000s name, but didn't they call it the Awesome Bar for a while? I'm pretty sure
that seems pretty likely.
I'm pretty sure they used that name, but I'm pretty sure Firefox was the innovator of like, hey, the address bar is now going to search like history and bookmarks and like everything you've ever done on this browser is all going to get rolled up into what you type into this bar, and it's just going to find your thing.
So yeah, I just searched for something that like I tab I just closed, and like so I searched for kernel, and I get some searches I've done in the past, and then I don't get the past history. So they must not search through the history anymore.
That's a bummer.
My guess is that got too onerous.
I guess like Chrome still does that. Like that's kind of the way to use a browser to me.
I don't know, man. I like searching through my tabs. I like having a bunch of tabs. I'm not going to let you shame me. I'm going to have 277 tabs, Brad. You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do.
Look, not everybody has the spare RAM to abuse their browser in such a way. But look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. But look, I've been on record many times. Cold boot, fresh browser every morning is clean living.
Do you not even open your pins?
Not what? I don't even have pins.
Do you not do pins?
Oh, not unless I need them.
Oh my God, I have pins for my mail clients and the Home Assistant and the Twitch panel.
Well, of course, I open Slack and email every morning, but...
You don't use the client for Slack?
Oh.
Oh boy. Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I am Brad.
Hello.
Hi. I said I am Brad that time. I thought I would.
Brad, I am.
That's me.
We should souse this up one day.
No contractions on this podcast. Wow. I am here to talk in a more formal manner this week.
It's funny. I pointed that out to my daughter when we were watching the Stranger Things finale because the kids that were like, the human experimentation children grew up in a fixed environment don't use contractions in the same way that like Mr. Data and I think did Spock not use contractions either?
Ooh.
Or was he theoretically just didn't use them very often because they messed up sometimes, I bet.
I've now seen 2 of 3 seasons of the original series, but I can't. I'm just kind of trying to run through I bet he did use contractions actually, if I had to guess.
But Data famously not a contraction user.
Are you telling me you don't have an open tab already with the search? Did Spock use contractions?
I was typing it, but I was trying to go quietly so
in
nobody heard.
277 tabs, you must have, like, if you open enough browser tabs, then every possible permutation of every search that has ever existed will be in there eventually, right?
Okay, so I went to the Trek BBS, the number 1 result for this.
Oh yeah,
and it's a board. This is an old forum. User Tellerites says, "I don't, or should I say, I do not think that he did." Did Spock ever speak with a contraction is the subject. Mm-hmm. I don't, or should I say, do not think he did, but I've always been curious if some slipped by. If so, which episodes? And then 100101, who has a Calculon avatar, said he used several of them in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. So,
what is a Calculon?
Calculon is the actor robot from Futurama.
Aha. Okay.
He's the Shatner. He's Futurama Shatner.
Mm-hmm.
And also then a guy with a minion avatar says it was his second line in the cage was a contraction.
Right.
So
well,
Spock, no data.
Definitive. No, he's not.
If we're ranking Star Trek characters, I'm going to put Data above Mr. Spock.
Hang on, I know this. We're already planning for this coming holiday. I've got this holiday's ranking right here in front of me. Ranking of Spocks.
Ranking what?
Ranking of Spocks.
Yeah. Oh, there's only 4, aren't there? No, there's 3.
Okay, first we would have to define what constitutes a Spock.
Is Data a Spock?
Absolutely.
What? 100%. No, he's a robot. He's not a Spock.
100% he's a Spock. We hashed this whole thing out on the Watchcast already.
Oh, no.
Every Star Trek has a Spock. Data is the Spock of Next Generation. Odo is the Spock of DS9.
Is Ensign Ro a Spock?
No, you only have one Spock.
I mean, I don't know. I think some people would disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have 2 Spocks. Mirror Universe Spock is also a Spock. Or is he not a Spock? Okay.
I'm trying to think this through here. There's some all Datas are Spocks, but not all Spocks are. Let's move on.
With great Spock comes great data responsibility. I don't know. That's
Respocksability.
Yeah. We're doing a potpourri this week.
Mm-hmm.
We had some weird stuff. Some stuff's been going on. We got stuff to talk about. I think we should start with Moonlight on the Xbox because
okay.
It's unprecedented. It's the last thing on the list, but I think we should start there because it's fun.
Yes, I'm going to let you talk while I failed to do my due diligence, but but somebody on the Discord in particular brought this to our attention, and I've got to credit that person because that was.
Are you talking about Hobbs?
Was it Hobbs?
Hobbs gave me the way that I'm now changing. So we talked about a couple weeks ago Apollo, which is a Sunshine fork that. Okay, let's take a step back. Sunshine and Moonlight are the server and client, respectively, that replicate the old NVIDIA Game Stream functionality from the GeForce experience, which was set up originally to let you stream games from your GeForce-equipped PC to an NVIDIA Shield. Now, somewhat of a niche category, but the protocol was really good, and people made when they pulled it from the GeForce Experience app, folks basically created an open source server called Sunshine and an open source client called Moonlight that would work on kind of everything, like Windows, Mac, Apple TV, iOS, Linux, Xbox, a bunch of TVs, like smart TVs that you can install your own apps on, all sorts of stuff. And the upshot is you have a really clean, pretty high quality way to transcode the video with very low latency on your desktop PC, and then stream it to any other screen in your house.
Yes, particularly if you run a hard line all the way down the hall to your living room, Adam Patrick Murray.
Yeah, that is one important. I was thinking about. I call that the Adam principle. So
I've been sitting on that call out for like a month now.
Oh, you can also do it, like, just to be clear, it also works really well over Wi-Fi. I use it on Wi-Fi in the Stream Deck all the time.
Yeah, so, no, I believe it. I mean, assuming your Wi-Fi is clean enough and you're not.
Yeah, assuming you're on, like, let's say 5, 6 or newer Wi-Fi standards would be my guess. Anyway, okay, so folks have been talking about this Moonlight client for Xbox because I've talked about using the Steam Deck one in the past and using it docked with the TV, but it's a little fiddly. It's fine, but the Steam Deck is clearly built for streaming 1280 by 800 or playing stuff at 1280 by 800 on that device. And it's a little hinky when you plug it into an HDMI port.
Yeah. And I should mention, I think it was probably on this very podcast that I talked recently about wanting to get the new Apple TV, which is still not out yet. Because I was thinking about using that as a Moonlight.
Yeah.
Or even Steam. I thought about also trying the official like built-in Steam client, or I guess they still call it Steam Link.
Steam Link, yeah,
is what the app is called. But either way, I thought about using an Apple TV as a streaming device, and then I could not find the user. It might have been somebody on the Nextlander Discord actually that mentioned it to me first. I forget, but whoever it was, thank you, that mentioned there is a Moonlight client on the Xbox.
On the App Store, yeah. It's worth mentioning the Apple TV one has input latency problems. I tried it again. The Apple TV I have is old enough that it wasn't great, but it's possible. I think one generation back from the current one that you can buy today, not which will be 2 generations back from the new one.
Yeah, some people on our Discord, I think, tried it on the newest one and said they didn't mind it or they thought it felt fine. I mean, latency is something that's always going to be subjective based on personal sensitivity. Some people are going to notice it more than others. But the bigger thing with the Apple TV is it's not a gaming box. The current models now, and I assume this next model probably as well, are capped at 60 hertz, for example. So you can't do higher frame rates. It probably does support 4K and HDR just fine, I would assume, but it's not. It's a streaming box for video. It's not a gaming device first. But it is a gaming device first.
Yeah, the Xbox
are the Xbox Series X and S, and sure enough, there's a UWP Moonlight app on there. I don't know if UWP is even still in vogue or not.
Yeah, it's one of the ways you can ship games on the Windows Store as well.
It's one of those cross-platform Microsoft frameworks that lets you kind of make one app that works on multiple devices.
Yeah, it used to be the only way to ship a game on a Game Pass game on Windows it had to be a UWP app for a long time. I think they've changed that since then. But the upshot is we've both been I think we both used it. Have you used it at this point or no?
I have set it up. The streaming is working fine. I mean, maybe I'll let you go first because you've had more luck with it. I also just haven't had a ton of time to fiddle with the nuances of the config. It's streaming to my TV fine, to the Xbox fine, but it's still opening things on my PC, on my desktop.
What do you mean? When you launch
it's still, when I launch Steam, the Steam window is still opening on my PC monitor, not on, I basically get a blank desktop streaming to my Xbox, but none of the windows are actually appearing on it. They're all, it looks like there are multiple ways to deal with that. You have to fiddle with the Windows sort of, I started to say preferences, but I don't mean preferences in the sense of a dialogue where you are tweaking settings. I mean Windows' preference for which monitor to output to, Windows' opinion of which one it thinks is the primary display.
So on Windows, it's always just streamed my primary monitor, which hasn't been a problem.
I think that might be a setting. I'm gonna be real. I don't love the Sunshine and Apollo, because Apollo is a fork, so it's basically the same thing in this regard. I don't love the web-based settings for Sunshine. I find them just maybe a little bit hard to parse. They're not overly explanatory. I think maybe a little bit more flavor or help text would help.
Well, and the weird thing is they split settings into 2 different sections. There's the server settings, and then there's also per application settings. Yeah. So when you connect to a when you connect to a Sunshine server with your Moonlight client, it's hey, which of these things do you want to launch? Do you want to launch the desktop? Do you want to launch Steam Big Picture? Do you want to go straight into a specific game? And the right answer is different for kind of each. There's no universal right answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like quite a bit of fiddling you might need to do per both client and server to get everything working right. Anyway, I was able to pull up the connection stats on the Xbox and see that it was streaming 4K 120 HDR just fine.
Oh, that's nice.
It's just that I just need to put the work in to try to, and it may be something like disabling my local monitors on the PC whenever I'm streaming, because I think it can do that too. I think Apollo can handle that.
So Apollo does that on Windows seamlessly. That's what I was going to say. Is I found Apollo to be basically zero fiddling and just installed it and it was running and it was right. I might have had to specify the primary monitor, but I think it just pulled the primary, and I have Steam Big Picture set to launch on the primary monitor. So when it launches Steam Big Picture, it starts streaming that to the TV, it just worked. There was no change.
Okay, but to be clear, the reason I even need to worry about this is because my monitors are lower res than my TV. I have 1440p monitors and a 4K TV, so I don't want it streaming 1440p to the TV.
Do you have a dongle? An HDMI dongle?
No, but so that's one of the things Apollo does is it just creates a dummy virtual monitor. That is the big thing. Sorry, I was looking for that Discord stuff while you were giving the top line here. I'm not sure if you mentioned the Apollo difference.
Yeah, the Apollo difference is that it switches the resolution to your output resolution and turns off your other monitors if you tell it to.
Yeah, so I'm not telling it to turn off the monitors, but yes, it detects the resolution and frame rate and color depth and everything of the target client that is requesting to connect, and it just creates a virtual desktop at those settings and streams that. So apparently you can get Sunshine to do that, but it's work.
So Sunshine, so the TLDR on this is that if you want to do this and you're curious about it, I would recommend Apollo on the Windows side, and if you're running Linux, then Sunshine is probably your option. Apollo was kind of hinky on the Linux side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Apollo, from the sound of things, is probably using some pretty like Windows-centric stuff under the hood.
It is. The virtual monitor thing doesn't work on Linux for Linux related reasons, but also Linux provides, most Linux distros and desktop environments and window managers provide command line tools that you can easily use to turn on and off monitors at will or displays at will. So, but you will, for Sunshine to do a virtual monitor, you will either need an HDMI dongle or, like in my case, I just have the HDMI goes out to a capture card on my streaming PC. And I set that machine to always provide USB power to even when it's turned off. And that capture card stays hot, and that shows up as an option, so I can turn it on and off at will.
Sure. Are there not other ways to define virtual desktops? Like, I know the NVIDIA drivers on Windows, you can just create a virtual, or sorry, virtual is not the right term, but kind of you can create resolutions that exceed your physical desktop resolution. Yeah. Like I've done that before. You can even on like a 1080p monitor, you can define a 4K resolution, for example, and then just have your graphics card scale that down to 1080. So,
yeah, on Linux you can if you're using X11, and if you're using Wayland, you can't. Is the current state of the art, as I understand it.
Okay.
Anyway, the upshot is on Linux, on Windows, Apollo handles a lot of this stuff for you. It's really nice. I found I was able to do HDR streaming to the Xbox Series S in the living room. I don't have an HDR TV in there, so that looked really bad. But when I turned it off and put it on SDR, it was fine.
Now, here's a question.
Yes, hi.
Were you able to tell Apollo, or you were using Sunshine, not Apollo, right? Either way.
I was using Apollo on Windows. I've used Sunshine on Linux. I'm using both right now, depending on which machine I'm booting into.
Are you able to not have HDR enabled on your PC, but then have it turn HDR on just when it's streaming to your Moonlight client? Because that would be ideal for me, because the monitors I have in the office here are terrible for HDR. So I don't want to use HDR on my desktop, but it would be nice for that to be able to flip HDR on automatically when it starts streaming to my TV, which is a good HDR display.
So I think with Apollo and the virtual monitor thing, you can do that.
Okay.
With Sunshine, I've never successfully gotten that to work. If I want to stream HDR to like my Steam Deck or something, which has an HDR display, I have to turn HDR on Windows first and then start Sunshine, and then it works.
Okay.
But anyway, I was gonna say we talked about Hobbs in the one of the chats about this on the Discord had pointed me to replicate that Apollo functionality in Sunshine on Linux, had pointed me to the actions that are tied to an application. So in Sunshine, this is the applications tab, and it lists the things that you see when you connect to the server, right? So it's like desktop, low res desktop, and big picture. And in that setting, there are commands and undo commands that you can set to run before the application launches and after the application is done, after you disconnect. And so I just put nitty message output commands in there that turn off my DisplayPort monitors and turn on my HDMI monitor, and set the HDMI resolution to the resolution that I'm streaming at most regularly. And it's worked fabulously. It means that I hit it, I see the desktop for like a flash of a second, and then I get the Steam Big Picture launch, and everything's groovy. So highly recommend.
Yeah, I've got to put more work into this. Maybe I'll update on this month's Patreon episode, I think. Okay. Hopefully by then I will have time to wrangle. It's, again, like I said, the settings I find to be a bit overwrought or just kind of a mess to dig through for the Sunshine server, and also dealing with like the Windows, like which monitor to output settings are just kind of a pain, and I just have not spent the time.
So the thing I will say is that generally speaking, especially if you have an NVIDIA card, just saying, hey, use the NVENC encoder and setting the display and then letting it figure out the bitrate and the targets, especially if you're on Ethernet, is fine. You can give it a ridiculous bitrate like 50 megabits on gigabit, and it'll work itself
50
out.
50 megabits.
I mean,
why not 100?
I'm doing 1080p most of the time. So, and I also connect with Wi-Fi sometimes, so I keep it reasonable.
That's fair. That's fair.
But also you can set it to just let the client specify the bitrate that it wants.
Yeah.
which is probably the better solution for my particular use case, where I'm sometimes streaming at 1080p, sometimes streaming it at 800p, and sometimes streaming at 4K to a laptop.
I wonder if there are any differences between like VBR and CBR situations there, constant bitrate versus variable bitrate. Like, is there overhead as it's trying to figure out, as it's adapting its bitrate dynamically to whatever the demands of the stream are? Or like, is it more efficient to just set, if you've got the bandwidth over the network and a good encoder, is it more efficient to just set a high ceiling CBR and just let it go, I wonder?
So the one thing I tweaked was I turned off the 2-pass mode that does a quarter resolution scan pass, just to reduce a little bit of latency.
Right. Yeah, so like both latency and also just like maybe some lag in adapting to changes in the content of the video, like you might get some brief macro blocking before it catches up and ups the bit rate or something. Like if you've got the encoder and bandwidth, I wonder if it's better to just set a high number and let it go.
The thing that I've found, having used this quite a bit over the last couple of years, is that I typically, I find I only play games that I'm playing with them with a gamepad. I don't play a ton of stuff like, I don't play competitive games ever in the living room.
It would be the same for, I might play a somewhat competitive game on a controller maybe, but it would definitely be a lot of like lean back on the couch with a controller type stuff. So
yeah, it's a lot of like RPGs and stuff like that. I did like the closest thing to a timing game I played was probably Ghost of Tsushima, which was fine. Like I was able to do parries and blocks and all that stuff without any problem. And I don't know that I would play like Sekiro or something like that on streamed.
Yeah,
but maybe, I don't know. I'm bad at Sekiro anyway, so who knows?
I think the first thing I might play when I get this working is Routine, that sci-fi horror game that came out last month.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it that much though, but
it looks good. I played Dispatch all the way through the other day. We were sitting in the living room and making decisions together, and it's the controller. I think this is that game specific thing. It seems like it's hard to do the dispatch portion of that with the controller and score well.
Yeah.
But maybe I just suck at dispatching. I don't know.
Yeah. I am going to finalize this stuff soon though, because it's not that I don't want to play PC games. I just don't want to sit at the PC to play them when I'm already spending 10 hours a day in front of this computer anyway.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to play something that's like a big, giant, beefy game with my nice computer, but sit in the living room and like have the big TV and the speakers and the whole deal.
It's time. Now I will say I've talked to some people on both Discords, Nextlander and TechPod, about this, and it seems like that Xbox Moonlight client is known to be a bit crashy.
I have not had any crashes with it.
Okay, I've had it crash once just in the time I was preparing and fiddling with settings a little bit, but so that is maybe something to be aware of. The other thing, which I think I might have mentioned on the Patreon episode when we briefly talked about this last month, is the divergence between Apollo and Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
According to the author of Apollo, is going to widen at some point.
Yeah, but he has to build clients for the other stuff before he does that.
So, but I don't. So basically, he forked Apollo from Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see some real good classic open source drama, go to the Apollo repo and scroll to the bottom and read the 3 paragraphs where he talks about trying to participate in the Sunshine development process and being rebuffed and then banned from their Discord, and he seems very upset about it.
Wow.
Which is what led to the forking of Apollo. Anyway, the point being, he's said explicitly, eventually I will break compatibility with existing Moonlight clients in favor of clients that are specifically made for Apollo. Not maliciously, it sounds like more because he's going to work on new features that will require those clients. But that's worth keeping in mind before you get super invested in an Apollo workflow, particularly in the case of the Xbox, where I feel like the odds of an Artemis is the name of his Moonlight fork, and the odds of an Artemis client getting made for the Xbox, considering the general state of the Xbox platform, I feel are quite low.
Look, I've turned my Xbox on more in the last 2 weeks than I have in the 2 previous years.
Fair.
So
yeah, you've been turning your Xbox on every day to play games on somebody else's platform.
Look.
On the other hand, that's part of their whole business model forthcoming.
Yeah, everything's an Xbox.
That's where things are going for them, so maybe that's fine.
I will say, okay, first off, I'm going to say getting banned from something feels bad all the time. I got banned from Reddit recently for things that I didn't do.
Uh-huh.
If anybody's listening here, works at Reddit and wants to help me get my a 10-year-old account unbanned, that would be dope. But at some point Reddit let a bazillion people sign up for accounts using my email address. And even though they were all unconfirmed, I got hit for spam.
Sure.
So anyway,
I've got the disclaimer in front of me right here. I got kicked from Moonlight and Sunshine's Discord server and banned from Sunshine's GitHub repo, literally for helping people out, is how this starts.
Oh boy.
So you can kind of guess where that's probably
I feel
going.
this, brother.
This is what I got for finding a bug, opened an issue, getting no response, troubleshoot myself, fixed the issue myself, shared it by PR to the main repo, hoping my efforts can help someone else during the maintenance. He goes on. But
you call somebody a name or something?
No, I have no idea. Zero idea.
Okay. Scene drama.
Yes.
We love scene drama here.
Yes, indeed. As I like to say often, open source is an exercise in self-governance.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And, like sometimes it's a little messy.
I mean, look, self-governance is messy. We've all learned that.
Yes, that's for sure.
So anyway, yeah, that's Moonlight, Moonlight and Sunshine and Apollo. I like 2 thumbs up to the whole stack. Yeah. It's real good.
Yeah, that's cool. Possibly, like I said, possibly more to come as I get mine working on the Patreon episode.
I just want to say also as an anecdote, last year, maybe the year before now, I was doing some testing for this at PC World, and I had left my computer running that day apparently. And when I connected to my I connected with Moonlight at the PC World office to my house 10, 15 miles away. And I thought I was connecting. I wasn't paying attention to which one I connected to because I had both settings on my Steam Deck. And I thought I was connecting to the one in the other side of the office. And I was connecting to the one across the whole wide internet. And I couldn't, from a performance standpoint, couldn't tell the difference.
If that's not a proof of concept, what is?
Yeah, it's pretty good. You have to open. I think I had the reverse proxy set up for that. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Self-governance is messy.
You
know what else is messy?
Electricity. Yeah.
I've got a whole stack of UPS weirdness that I want to step through here just to get your opinion on things.
Yeah.
Because I'm sort of at a loss. Like maybe
more of a FedEx guy personally.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. I think we talked about this also so as of last month's Patreon episode, I think I had ordered new batteries for my UPS and they had not arrived.
You were excited about them. You seemed cautiously optimistic, let's say.
Some events have transpired since then, but I think you mentioned on that episode, you said you used to be a UPS guy and have now stopped. Is that correct?
Well, so when I bought this house, I paid an electrician to come in and run new wires to like the 3 most important spots for me.
Was that how old is the house?
1956.
Oh, okay. So was it original wiring? Do you have any way of telling?
Yeah, it's original wiring. It's real scary. It's not good. It's knobs and tubes and cotton insulators. Like we're if my employment situation was slightly more stable, we would have been firmly in the let's rip all the walls out and redo everything era of this house. Yeah, but anyway,
got it.
So yeah, I had him run 20 amp circuits to my PC, to the TV area, and to the garage where the servers and like network stuff all hooks up.
Okay. But then the UPS situation.
I didn't need the UPS after that because I was using the UPS to account for janky apartment wiring.
Just for that. And
just
nothing
for
else.
That. I mean,
you don't have any concerns about like in a power outage shutting things down gracefully and stuff like that?
I have concerns, but I figure it'll work itself out.
Probably, it'll work out. There are in a number of different possible outcomes.
So here's the thing. At the time I made this decision in 2007, UPS replacement batteries were still really expensive. There wasn't a lot of lithium ion or LiPo UPS stuff. It was all lead acid batteries, and they were charging exorbitant prices for them because they could.
Yeah, and to be clear, it is still mostly lead acid batteries.
Yeah,
like what goes in your car. Although it seems like I think we talked about this is really a lot of follow-ups from last month's Patreon episode. I think we talked about the LiFePO 4. Mm-hmm. It's like lithium, iron, potassium, something. I don't know what the 4 is.
Polonium. No, it's not polonium.
Probably not.
It's phosphorus.
Dude, would you put a nuclear UPS in your house?
I mean, look, I read a lot of Tom Swift books when I was a kid. I like the power of the nuclear revolution was promised and has never been fulfilled.
Would you have a personal nuclear reactor?
Depends on where I live.
If such technology existed.
Like if I could spend $100,000 on a thorium reactor for my house and never pay for electricity again, yes, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Okay.
Fuck PG&E. fuck them to death.
Yes.
Fire them into the fucking sun.
Yes, I think after last month's events, I think we can agree on that.
No, it's not. No, it's 2020 when they burned down a bunch of cities that did it for me.
Yep, also that.
So, okay. So, yeah, I stopped. I basically bought a round of UPSs when I first moved here. And then 7 years later, when the batteries were shot, and they were like, it's going to be $200 per to update the batteries.
Wow.
And also, probably the UPSs I had weren't beefy enough because the computers were drawing a lot more power. I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I just paid once to have the wires run.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we just step through my UPS travails?
What's up, Brad?
Here? Okay, so I've got a CyberPower. It's a 1500 VA. I've never understood quite what the VA volt amps. Is that what that is? I'm just bad at electricity. I've had it explained to me. I generally know that like voltage is the size of the pipe. Wattage is the water running through the pipe. Is that I always go to the water analogy and I just can't keep it straight. Or is amperage the water running through the pipe?
Amperage is the voltage is the pressure.
Is watts volts times amps? Is it that easy?
Amperage is the size of the hole.
Okay.
Is the size of the tube.
Okay.
Every time we talk about this on the podcast, I get it wrong, and then a bunch of people yell at me.
I think maybe my mistake is always going to an analogy as opposed to I should probably just sit down and look at equations and then I'll actually understand the relationship correctly.
No, I was right. Voltage is like the water pressure. Amps is like the volume of flow rate of the water.
Okay.
And then watts is the combination of those two numbers.
Right. Yes, I did know that watts was kind of the final output measurement. But anyway, I want to say, is it correct? It's not correct to say that volt amps is like directly equal to watts, right?
I don't ever understand why they did volt amps for UPSs, honestly.
Maybe I'm not a suitable UPS owner if I'm asking questions like this. I don't know.
I mean, look, anyway, I believe in you.
It's a CyberPower. It's 1500 VA. It's one of the little tower units, the kind of tall, thin, made to sit on the floor behind the desk type thing.
That to me says it's 1500 watts.
I'd have to look at the specs. I think it tops out at like 1,000 watts or maybe 900 watts total output. Anyway, I've had it for 6 years. We talked on the Patreon episode last month's power outage in San Francisco revealed that those batteries are beyond done.
Okay.
On your $200 battery replacement thing, I got a new pair of lead acid batteries that go in this UPS for $45 shipped.
Two batteries?
Yeah, it takes two. It takes two batteries. This model does. I think there are some, like I was looking at an Eaton that takes three. So that's
are these official CyberPower batteries?
No, the official CyberPower
batteries.
Yes, the official CyberPower replacement cartridge thing is like $110 or something like that.
That's still more reasonable for something that lasts like 7 to 10 years.
It's not bad, but I got these from I pulled up a YouTube guide of a guy replacing batteries on his, and these are Expert Power, which is a company based in LA, and he said he's had good luck putting their batteries in CyberPowers in the past. So I gave it a shot. Anyway, they came. Real quick aside, don't you love it when something is okay? You know how things are always more complicated than you think they're going to be?
Yeah.
Don't you love it when the once in a blue moon something is actually way less complicated than you think it's going to be?
I don't think I've had one of those happen in so long that I can't remember the last time it happened.
Like this guy had the same model as me, but I guess the previous revision, because his process for swapping with aftermarket batteries and not using their kind of pre-made tidy little official cartridge replacement.
You have to crack open a cartridge, your old cartridge, to put the new batteries in.
Not like breaking plastic or anything, but you do have to. They do have like an intermediary sort of mount that you have to mount them to and get them to line up right to fit into the model and not blah blah blah.
It's annoying.
And I was like, all right, I mean, that looks like a little bit of work, but it's worth saving $60. It's 10 minutes of work, to be clear.
Yeah.
Anyway, the batteries get here. I open mine up, and it turns out they have dramatically simplified the design as of whatever revision I have, and they just slot right in 30 seconds. It was nothing.
Oh, nice.
So I was like bracing myself for like, it's going to be a pain in the ass to have to like try to route the wires and get it to fit, their little custom proprietary mounting system and get them to fit in there. And it turns out, no, they actually just went to basic slots that these batteries go in. So whatever.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. So I replaced the batteries. Those were fine. Put it together. It charged the batteries. It all seemed good. 3 days later, I was sitting here at like 7:30 in the morning on the computer gearing up for work, and everything on the UPS just went dark. Like,
oh no!
I heard a click under the desk, and everything that was hooked up to the UPS just died. And I got under there and had to like power cycle the UPS with the power button. And it was still at 100% charge, but it had just turned itself off.
Was it charge of lies or was it a safety thing? Did you get a surge?
I don't think so. I have no idea. It had never done that in 6 years.
It's weird. You got the bootleg batteries and it stopped working. That's shocking.
Of course, the immediate conclusion was that something about the batteries was amiss. But I had tested it after I put the batteries in. Like, it ran fine off those batteries. It showed roughly expected capacity and runtime.
Okay.
And then I got to Googling and found large numbers of people with similar CyberPower models complaining about the exact same problem.
With the aftermarket batteries,
no,
just like
general.
after the period of time?
Just in general, hey, mine's 3 years old and it started doing this. I went on the kind of networking NAS server channel on our Discord and asked, hey, does anybody have a CyberPower? Have you ever seen anything like this? Like, instantly somebody responded with the same model that I have, saying like, yeah, I've got one of those. It's done that twice in the last 6 months. I'm replacing it soon.
So
yes,
when I worked in the university IT department a very long time ago, we replaced UPSs after 5 years, I think.
Yeah, so I have become aware that like just the unit itself needs to be replaced eventually. Like, it's not enough to just replace the spent batteries because like capacitors wear out, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, it's like a surge protector, right?
Surge protection is not permanent, like, et cetera. But I was hoping to get at least one more run of batteries out of this thing. But
so what kind of UPS are you going to buy now?
Well, I was definitely like, I was super pissed that day. I was all hot and heavy looking at APCs and Eatons and all kinds of stuff. I was just like, fuck this thing. I'm getting a new UPS right now, but it hasn't done it since.
Oh,
so I guess I'm going to chill until, if it does it again, it's gone. Like, a UPS that turns itself off and kills everything connected to it is kind of like an anti-UPS.
Yeah, that defeats the whole purpose of having the gentle shutdown,
especially when it has a fully charged battery. But like there was one person in a Reddit thread I found who had pulled theirs all the way apart and found like some questionable wiring or something. I don't know. Like some people on our Discord though said like, hey, this type of thing can also afflict APC or other common brands. Like, it's not necessarily exclusive to CyberPower. I don't know. Anyway, I'm like in a holding pattern, waiting for that bizarre behavior to happen again. But
well, I mean, at least you got something to look forward to.
Well, all of that is a preamble to what happened yesterday, which was the main event.
Yeah.
Which is I tripped a circuit breaker in this room for the first time in a very long time. Oh, sorry. I phrased that poorly. I tripped the circuit breaker for the first time ever in this room.
Okay.
But ever is a very long time of living in this apartment.
Yeah, you've lived in this apartment for as long as I've known you.
Like, way too long that I've been in this building.
So what were you doing when you tripped the breaker, Brad?
I think I'm going to say the very warm straw that broke the camel's back was the space heater that I was running at 85 degrees.
Yeah, that would do it.
Probably.
Those are usually good for a couple 1,200 watts.
God, really?
Of draw. Yeah, they're
really?
Space heaters can suckle the little ceramic guys.
Shit. Well, I don't know. I mean, this is like plastic and metal on the outside of the housing. I don't know what's.
But it's like
inside.
The size of a toaster.
Yeah, it's a little bigger than that.
Yeah, those usually pull at least 500 watts and up to 1,500. I have one of those. That's good for 1,200 watts. Easy.
God, really? Okay, I had no idea they pulled that much.
Yeah, so your circuit on a 15 amp circuit, it's 15 times 110. So that's like what?
15 times 110.
Calculator installed here. 15 times 110, 1,650 watts.
Man.
Theoretical.
Man.
So your 1,500 is at the max because there's some, you need some slack there.
Okay. Well, so
that probably would have done it.
I mean, I've got two computers. I've got two computers running in here.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of basic like electrical wiring questions I'm going to run by you.
Okay.
Here as I think about how this went down. But so I don't know what the NAS pulls itself. I've said recently there are 10 hard drives in there. That's a 12600K.
Mm-hmm.
This desktop PC is a 14900K with a 4090 in it. I was playing a game at the time, which may have actually been the thing that really pushed it over.
My machine will hit 600 watts playing a game.
Okay. This was not a demanding game for what it's worth. This was Quarantine Zone, but I don't know that matters.
So if you're playing the game, you're on the 14900?
Yes. It's power limited, to be clear.
It's undervolted a little bit, right?
It's not undervolted. I've got the PL2.
Oh yeah.
Intel's got the PL1 and PL2 settings for both burst and sustain power draw. I've got that capped at effectively the chip can't pull more than 185 watts.
Okay.
But so I can tell you at idle, these two computers and everything else on this UPS are pulling about 275 watts. But that's at idle. That's nothing happening on this desktop, and I'm me crawling under the desk and looking. I could have fired up a game. I just didn't think to do it.
Well, so
running a game is definitely going to add quite a bit of draw to that.
So yeah, your video card alone will crank up and give you another few hundred watts minimum.
Yeah.
So okay. So yeah, you definitely hit 1600 watts on the if the space heater is plugged into the same plugs as the UPS.
Plugs. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask. It's plugged into an outlet across the room from here. But so that's one of the questions I have. Okay, first question: are the two outlets on the same wall plate always guaranteed to be on the same circuit?
They're not. It depends on the way the plugs are set up. Like, yes, unless somebody did some specific screwy stuff.
Okay, by and large,
bought something special. If they went to the hardware store and bought the $1.99 plugs, which is what those cost usually, then yes, okay, they're the same circuit for sure. I'm
going to say in this building, definitely then.
Yeah, like unless you specifically do something to make that not happen, I don't know of a way to make that happen.
Okay. How about in the same room though? Like how common is it to have outlets in the same room that are on different
varies
circuits?
Wildly based on construction time and all that stuff. Your building was built in the 70s or 80s, I think.
81, I want to say, is when it was built.
Yeah, so it's almost certainly one circuit for all the plugs in the room.
Okay. Got it.
Like these days modern code is such that they I think depending on where you are, like the code where I am is every 5 feet or 6 feet or something, there has to be a plug now because everybody's plugging a bazillion things in.
Oh, interesting.
When our houses were built in the 80s, you think about what you plugged into a house in the 80s and it was like some floor lights in the TV.
Yeah.
Maybe a stereo.
Maybe, yes, maybe.
So
wild. I didn't know they regulated that sort of thing that specifically.
Yeah, and it's more in the kitchen. So in the kitchen, you have to have them closer, and you have to have if you don't have specific stuff set up, you have to have ground faults on them and all sorts of stuff. Anyway,
fun.
Yeah, it's easy to find out though. So take 2 of your floor lamps, plug them into all the outlets in the room, and then go flip the breaker off and see which ones turn off. Yeah,
so I frantically is maybe the wrong word, but I somewhat urgently had to go around and find the circuit breaker, which is probably knowledge I should have had before yesterday. So
well, I mean, look. You've lived there for a long time and had to know it's not. Yeah. The space heater is the great tripper of circuit breakers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I definitely.
Toaster ovens, space heaters, microwave ovens.
It was extremely cold in here.
Electric dryers.
In my defense, very cold.
Was it really? It was really warm down here yesterday.
Yesterday morning was very cold.
Oh, okay.
But to be clear, tripping a circuit is good, right? Like that's
much better than burning the house down.
That's a protection mechanism, right? It's not something to be concerned about. It's a good that it happens.
Yeah, the reason it trips is because you're trying to make more electricity go over the wire than the wire can hold.
Yep.
And the wire's solution to more electricity going over it than the wire can hold is I'm going to get real hot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing that the circuit breaker trips.
Okay, so here's where we get into a bit more tech before we wrap this topic up. NUT.
Your server, your NUT server.
Network UPS tools.
Yes.
I've been meaning to audit that setup because it's neglected. It's bit rotted, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
As
I love a good bit rot.
Some of the clients that are supposed to be connected to it and monitoring the UPS are not, because I have gotten lazy about making them stay. Anyway, been meaning to dig in that thing anyway. Here's what really got weird yesterday. Here's the thing I am now pulling my hair out about.
Okay.
The trip circuit breaker happened in the morning. Power to these outlets was off for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It ran the battery down a good bit before I shut down the 2 computers, down to maybe 3% or something. But I flipped circuit breaker in 15 minutes. The UPS was back on wall power and charging again pretty quickly, and I turned all the computers back on. Whatever. It was probably 4 or 5 hours after that. For one thing, I turned on the PiKVM and the NAS, which are monitoring NUT.
Okay.
And they would turn on and then immediately shut themselves back off. They would get through the boot, and then they were getting the signal from NUT to shut themselves back down again, as if
the machine was off power.
Yes, as if power was out and the UPS was draining and was at a low battery state. So it was the PiKVM has a tiny little OLED screen on it.
Yeah.
I could literally sit there, turn that thing on, watch it boot, and show its IP address and its little status message on that screen.
And then the NUT server turned it off
for about 3 seconds, and then it would immediately shut down and go to the halted message on that little screen because it was just the clients were being instructed to turn themselves off. Then I dug into the NUT server logs, and I found this. UPS status set, that is one term with underscores in it. Seems that UPS is in OL plus discharge, DISCHRG state.
Okay.
Is it calibrating? Perhaps you want to set online discharge _ calibration option. Note that some UPS models, e.g. CyberPower UT series, emit OL plus discharge when in fact offline/on battery. Perhaps you want to set online discharge option. That's what was in the logs.
This seems like a nut server configuration thing specific to your UPS.
It 100% is. I think the OL, first of all, OL plus discharge clearly is online plus discharge.
Yeah. Did you
so I believe that I think is a like status being emitted by the hardware in the very little
that's right.
In the extremely little I have had the energy to look into this so far. I think OL plus discharge is a hardware code. Like that's something that the UPS emits.
Yeah, because it's connected with a serial port or something to the nut server, right?
In my case, it is USB to. It's just USB to USB in this case. It does have a serial port on it, but I'm not using that. But it's you're right. It is. I believe that is a hardware status code that it is then up to Nut to interpret and act on.
Yeah,
and that's where I'm starting to get into the do I have the energy for this or should I just throw this thing in the trash? And by that I mean e-waste it and forget about UPSs, because you quickly find that like every company emits these codes differently. Like they mean different things between companies. Like they show up in different situations and they mean different things. And like diagnosing what your specific vendor of UPS means by a thing and configuring it to handle that.
That seems annoying.
Is going to be a lot. At one point, it was one of those situations where I was looking through like GitHub issues and stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, somebody linked to source code. Like,
oh boy,
have you? I'm sure you've hit one of those before, right?
Yeah, I usually just move on and do something else to solve the problem.
Like that's when you know you're really in the shit, where the only remaining avenue for you to diagnose what's going on is somebody links to like a literal C file in a GitHub repo.
Oh yeah,
and it's like at best you are combing through some comments in that source if they exist. Otherwise, it's down to your ability to read C.
Let me ask you something.
And like, I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but we'll see.
When you were working on the UPS, did you perchance upgrade the firmware on it?
No, but I meant to look into that. You're reminding me. I meant to look for CyberPower firmware updates yesterday and forgot. Why do you ask?
Well, because I wondered if you updated the firmware and they changed the way they handled the situation.
No, I have not updated it.
But the power doesn't go out all that often, so you may not have had a power off situation that caused something like this to happen.
Maybe not. Like I said, it was only out for like 20 minutes. But the thing I don't understand is that the batteries were when everything went off yesterday. Also, so yesterday it went off and immediately turned itself back on.
Yeah,
and that's when I looked in the logs and realized, like, okay, it was doing some kind of aberrant behavior here. It was
so when you looked at the front of the nest, did it show it was charging again?
The UPS, you mean?
The UPS, yeah.
Yeah, it had been charging all day. I had looked at it periodically. It had been charging the batteries. Like it was.
I don't know about that. That's weird.
Like these states that the nut log suggested, online discharge _calibration, makes me wonder if it was in some kind of weird. Was it in some kind of weird calibration? Do I need to calibrate these batteries? Was it in some kind of self-test mode because the power had gone out? I don't know.
It makes sense that it would be calibrating given how new the batteries are to it.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I would assume that you put a new battery and you have to run a calibration on it anyway, especially with your aftermarket batteries.
Yep.
But I don't know. That's weird. Is it still turning your stuff off, or did this resolve itself?
No, this happened once yesterday, and then I rebooted the Raspberry Pi that Nut runs on, and it has not given that state again in the logs. Oh. So,
I mean, that seems like it fixed itself, man.
I guess like that's kind of where I've ended up with both of these situations, where it shut itself off last week, and then now the weird behavior with the power outage yesterday. It's just like,
consider yourself blessed.
Is there some
everything's
kind of
coming up, Brad?
Like, what's the thing with the trough of despair, the something hype cycle?
Oh, the slope of you mean when you leave the trough of despair?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like the idea of graphing various psychological phenomena. I was going to say that we should graph
the slope of enlightenment is where you're at now.
Yeah, so we need to come up with a similar like declining slope for urge to fix a thing due to like proximity of problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the day something like this happens, you're like running around like a chicken with your head cut off, like they say back home. Just going, I've got to fix this. Like my UPS can't be this unreliable. I've got to fix this. The next day you're like, well, it hasn't done it again. Maybe I'll see how it goes. The day after that, you're like, well, okay, now I don't care. You know what I mean?
I have, let's just say I've been cultivating a healthy embrace of entropy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I turned 50 last year. I've spent a fair amount of time working against the thermodynamic equilibrium.
Yep, same.
And maybe it's time to, let the entropy take over.
I mean, to an extent, this being my work machine and doing a lot of recordings on it, it's nice to have that protection.
It's probably fine.
If the power were to go out, and at least have time to gracefully stop the recording and make sure I don't lose it.
Look, I'm going to knock on wood. We've made 321 episodes of this podcast, plus about 60 more patron episodes. Almost all of them are recorded sitting at this desk.
Sure.
It's been fine.
I do a fair number of hours of recording a week at this thing.
That's true. You do more than I do. I don't want to have another huge box here that's big enough to drive this PC.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think even though it's barely 24 hours since this last incident, I think I'm back in a holding pattern again, but I think one more weird thing with this thing, and I'm probably going to be in the market for a new UPS.
I got to say, I'm a little surprised at your willingness to cut this UPS loose, given the tight grip that you've held on that DBX, which has been way more faily over the last year.
That is a completely different situation.
Okay.
The overhead, again, as I said, I spend a lot of time recording at this desk every week.
That's true.
The overhead of having to get new equipment in, cycle it out, redo the wiring and everything is a lot when I just need things to work. And when they work 90% of the time, it's very easy to, especially when the 10% that it doesn't work is diffused throughout the day or the week or the month.
Yeah. It seems to be mostly concentrated in when we're recording this podcast.
Yeah, it has. Well, I've now found that hitting it is much more effective than power cycling it.
The classic solution.
I am going to RMA that thing. I will get around to it eventually, but it's also, I need to order the new stuff and have it ready to install before I send the old thing off.
Well, okay.
Anyway, that was just a long-winded way of saying I'm in a weird state with this thing, and I probably need to do a lot of nut documentation reading this weekend.
I think you just brought this up because you wanted to talk about your nut server and your nut logs at length.
There's also APC UPSD, which I think is a competing product.
Oh.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think you'd have to get an APC UPS to use that, though, wouldn't you?
Here it is right here on the Debian wiki, APC UPSD. Maybe I'll switch to that.
Yeah, there you go.
Instead of nut. I don't know.
You got to get off that nut.
Yeah, last thing I'll say, I know but you've got one more topic to talk about here, but I availed myself of something I heard you talking about on the Dual Boot Diaries, which is Journal D's facility for storing all the logs from previous boots.
Oh my God, it's the best thing, is it not?
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
For folks who don't know this, you can put is it just dash and then the number of boots back you want to go?
No, so it's Journal CTL is the command. Okay, let me back up. This is a Linux thing.
Yeah.
Journal D is a component of System D. It's the thing that collects all the system logs and makes them browsable, searchable, whatever. If you do Journal CTL -B.
-B and then a number.
So if you do just raw -B, it'll give you the current boot. It'll give you all the system logs for the current boot. Yeah. But if you do -B and then -1, it'll work backwards. So if you use negative numbers, -1 was the previous boot. -2 is the one before that. So
when you have a crash or something hangs your system,
you
can get into the previous set of logs and it just stops at the crash, which is incredible.
So when you've got all these freak power events that I'm talking about, I'm able to go through successive older sets of system logs and see what the hell was going on. It's very good. I started to say if only Windows had something like that. I guess the event viewer is kind of that. The event viewer
does it, but the event viewer doesn't give you clean stops and starts. You have to you have to scroll and find it. It's annoying.
The event viewer is not fun to use.
All right. Let me talk to you about my cascading comedy of errors failure on Monday morning. Monday morning, I got up early and I was just hanging out. I was watching Pluribus in the living room before everybody was awake because that's a dad only show. It's too Gina doesn't. It's too creepy for Gina. And
creepy is wow. We haven't started it yet. Creepy is not a word I would have expected to be applied to that show. I guess
it is not what I was expecting from the marketing, but it's worth watching. You guys will love it. It's very much up your alley.
Okay.
I think I'll probably watch it with the kiddo at some point. I got to make sure it's not too adult for her by the time we get to the end. But anyway, I was watching and the internet seemed to be working fine. And then my daughter woke up and was like, "Hey, I can't log into my class portal." I was like, "Well, why not? The internet's working. I'm on Apple TV right now." And she's like, "Well, it's not working." So I loaded up my phone and I tried to go to the internet and nothing was connecting. And I was like, "Oh, crap." Well, okay, what could this be? Is the internet down? No, the internet's not down because Apple TV is working, blah, blah, blah. It's probably not DNS because I was able to connect to the Apple TV, yada, yada, yada.
Sorry, and nothing was working at all?
When some websites were working and some websites weren't.
Oh,
so when
weird.
I went to Google, that worked. When I went to something else, it did not. Something I hadn't been to recently, it did not.
Mm-hmm.
So some Google results, I was able to see the results in Google and then click through the page, and that didn't go anywhere.
Okay, that seems telling.
So eventually I was like, I did the whole fucking DNS haiku, hold on.
It's not DNS.
Yeah.
There's no way it's DNS.
Yeah, it was DNS.
It was DNS.
Yeah. And that led me to my Pi hole. And since we spoke last about the Pi holes, I had a spare Pi 3 here, and I set up a redundant Pi hole.
Okay.
But my Pi is also my DHCP server, and obviously I'm not going to redundantly set up 2 DHCP servers on the network because that's
bad.
super no bueno. And I was doing the whole thing, and I was like, oh, this is great. Now, the cascading series of failures. This is a blameless postmortem. We're not going to talk about who made the boneheaded decision here. But I set up the second Raspberry Pi, and I did not import the DHCP settings. I just copied the list, the gravity lists that I use to block ads for those DNS servers. I keep those synced up.
And I think DHCP is opt-in on Pi-hole, right?
DHCP is opt-in on Pi-hole, and I have a bunch of static IPs set up because, of course, I do. I have a lot of machines that talk to each other, and it's nice to have static IPs for those.
Static DHCP leases? Those are different.
All my static IPs, except for the Pi-hole, are assigned by the DHCP server.
Right. Okay.
So I set up the second one, and I set the main one that's the DHCP server up as the primary DNS on all the machines in the house. And the secondary one is the secondary DHCP server. Now,
wait, secondary DHCP server?
Secondary DNS server. Sorry.
Okay. And how are you, just to lay the groundwork, how are you advertising or telling clients what the DNS servers are? Is that just in your...
On most of them, it comes through DHCP. On a handful of them, it's manual.
Okay.
It's the IPv6. The machines that have IPv6 turned on, I have to do some shenaniganry to make them use the Pi-hole DNS instead of the AT&T DNS that's advertised by my ISP.
Got it.
And it's all set up like this because I have to use the stupid Motorola AT&T router, and you can't. You can turn off the DHCP server, but you can't set the DHCP server on that thing to assign your own DNS servers because they don't want you to do that.
Okay, what is your router besides the AT&T one?
I'm just using the AT&T one.
Oh, you don't have another one. Oh, okay.
I only use the AT&T one for routing. All it does is route. The DHCP server's turned off. The Wi-Fi is turned off. All it does is just route and have a couple of ports that are open and forwarded.
Got it.
So apparently, at some point in the indeterminate past, the backup Pi-hole had shit the bed and stopped working.
Okay.
I didn't notice that because it was set up as a secondary DNS server on all of the clients.
Okay.
And the primary was working, so it just never came up. And I wasn't clever enough to foresee that this was going to be a problem and think, oh, I need a way to track and see if this DNS server is running, right? I don't have a dashboard or anything like that. I'm not checking it regularly. I don't even look at it ever. I try not to think about it except for once a month I sync up the any changes to the gravity list, which I don't really make that often anymore. So when the hardware in the primary one failed, and of course I've done all the best practices, I have all RAM to log and all that stuff running on them, so I'm not doing a bunch of writes to the SD cards or anything like that.
Sorry, what hardware is the primary?
A Pi 3.
Okay, and a Pi 3 for the secondary?
They're both Raspberry Pi 3s.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I had the Raspberry Pi 3 that's the secondary was my old Home Assistant server before I got the Home Assistant Yellow.
Got it.
So the primary conked out, and when I looked at it, my initial reaction was, "Oh crap! It's probably the SD card," because that's usually what it is when something like that happens on a Raspberry Pi. And I plugged the SD card in, and it was fine. And I was like, "This is weird." And I dismounted and plugged it back in, and I was like, "It's still fine." And did it a few times just to see, because sometimes, typically when they fail, they're wonky for a little bit. And it took me a shocking. I'll skip to the chase here. But the actual problem was that the primary hardware has conked out finally. I mean,
Really?
it's been running nonstop for like a decade, so it's not super surprising.
God, is Pi 3 that old?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Man,
I mean, I think I set that up while we were doing the podcast. It's probably only been 6 years. But
I'll look up when it came out. But like, what do you mean by conked out? Like, how do you know it's like dead?
It don't boot. I haven't plugged it into a monitor. But it was getting boot errors. And sometimes the Linux kernel would boot, and sometimes it wouldn't. When I was trying to, sometimes I could remote into it, sometimes I couldn't.
Did you try it with multiple SD cards?
I tried it with multiple SD cards.
Okay.
I tried it with a clean Raspbian install.
Wild.
And I've never actually seen that before. This is a new one for me.
Do you have any cooling on it?
No, of course not. It's a Raspberry Pi.
Well, I mean, the 4 and up definitely.
Yeah.
Cooling is recommended.
Yeah, if it was a 4, I'd definitely have a heatsink on it or something. But
I guess the 3 was like kind of cooling optional.
Yeah, and like in fairness, it's lived in my garage, which sometimes is 100 degrees and sometimes is 40 degrees.
Sure.
So
I don't know how hardened it is against the extreme conditions.
I'm within the range that's allowed, but if it ever got above 120 in there, I'd have to turn it off, I think. So the TLDR is, before I realized that, I went through the whole process of reinstalling the Raspberry Pi OS. I did realize I'm on a now like many years unsupported LTS version of the Raspberry Pi OS, which is a Debian base. So I have to figure out the upgrade process for that. And it seems like the upgrade process is, just do a reinstall.
Yeah, so Raspberry Pi officially does not support full
upgrades in place.
Full upgrades between Debian versions, which is kind of weird to me at this point, but they absolutely, if you could try it, like it might work, but they officially say no, just go wipe it and reinstall.
Well, so the reason I brought this up and I thought it was interesting to talk about it is I was really surprised. It's surprisingly difficult to set up a Raspberry Pi OS with a static IP address if you're running it headless all the time. It turns out you can open up the SD card. You can mount the SD card with something that recognizes the file system, and you can manually edit the etc/ whatever. I can't remember the name of the file off the top of my head, but it's the file. There's a file that you can that systemd looks at.
Is it resolve.conf?
It's a resolve.conf. Thank you.
That's for DNS. So that predates system. Not only does that predate systemd, that predates Linux. Like that's just a Unix thing.
It's just a Unix file.
Resolve.conf is a broad Unix thing, but that's typically or traditionally that's where the DNS server addresses live.
So yeah,
because I think I'm getting. Let me get down my rabbit hole here, but I think like that's traditionally like C programs are looking at that. I think like that might even be built into like the C standard library or something to check there first for name server resolution stuff. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, I like history of Unix stuff, but that's a pretty old one.
So it's really hard to get a static IP set up. I had to put it on etc dhcpcd.conf to get that to run.
DHCP-CD is like several Raspberry Pi OSs ago, if I'm not mistaken. You were definitely on an old one. Like I think they stopped. That's one of those things. Sorry to turn this into the dual boot diaries, but that's one of those things where there are at least half a dozen different ways to configure a network adapter in Linux.
It was maddening,
and that's one of them.
Yeah.
The thing about resolve.conf is a lot of those ways to configure your networking in Linux will take control of it now.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like Network Manager, systemd, networkd, like they will edit that file for you and in fact generally tell you not to touch it. So if you try to manually edit it, they may just overwrite your changes instantly.
Which was the problem I had over and over again.
Yeah.
I ended up having to remote into that machine using the IPv6 address that it was assigned automatically. And I was able to get to it there, and there I was able to make the changes. But it was a fairly substantial hassle. And the thing I'm going to say, the reason I'm talking about this is setting up the Pi hole was relatively easy. Fixing the Pi hole when I couldn't resolve DNS addresses was an enormous pain in the butt.
I've run into similar situations before.
So I'm going to suggest that if you are doing this, it's worth doing the failover. And when you do the failover, make sure you pipe your DHCP stuff over so you can flip the switch on the failover if the first one goes down. I didn't expect this to be a problem. Of course, I realized that this was all happening when my daughter had about 20 minutes until her class started. Mm-hmm. And Vinny and I were an hour from starting the next Lander stream on Monday. So everything was working by the time the stream started. My daughter missed the first 5 minutes of her class. We were all good.
Breeze under fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to go through, and one of my projects for this weekend is to get that stuff in order, because I kind of hacked it together, and then at 1:00 in the morning one night this weekend I'll fix it when nobody's awake.
Yeah,
so
I'll advocate for Blocky again here. You might look into it. It's command line only. It uses a single YAML file for configuration. Like, it's definitely not web dashboard like Pi-hole. Like, it's much more stripped down. But
does it do DHCP? It doesn't.
It does not. No. So you actually, yes. So it may be not good for you if you don't want to use. If you don't want to turn that back on your router.
I do not, because it won't let me assign stuff dynamically on the Anyway,
but
yeah,
Blocky has some nice simple options for kind of fallback. Like, if it can't read the ad block list, for example, you can tell it to just pass straight through to the upstream DNS and not.
Oh, that's good.
So like, it won't, if something about it fails, it'll just pass everything through and not prevent you from using the internet. That would not have helped if, like, say, both machines running in both instances were dead or whatever, then you're still screwed.
I'm going to advocate for one more thing before we go. I, a few years ago, bought some of those TP-Link smart plugs that give you live power data on your smart plug switches. You obviously don't want to get the dimmer ones if you're plugging a PC or something into it, because it'll blow them up. But you can get a 4-pack for like $30 at Amazon.
Dude, I should do that. Well,
and it's worth buying a couple just so you can because you can hook them into Home Assistant. You get a live dashboard of whatever you have plugged in.
I'm never gonna use the smart plug part of that on a PC necessarily, but it wouldn't be nice to have the monitoring part.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's nice to use the smart plug on the PC when you're like on vacation and want to have all the draw for your entire desk turned off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I bought a couple of them. I bought a 4-pack when they were on sale a few years ago, and I just bought another 4-pack the other day. The ones that I got are the TP-Link, the Tapo P110s.
Okay.
I think they have a Matter version as well. It's the 110M. The 115s are the Wi-Fi. The 110s M's are the Matter ones.
How do you spell Tapo? Is it TAPO?
TAPO. Yeah.
TP-Link's weird because they also have the Casa line of smart devices, and I think they make smart plugs under both names.
Oh, you know what? I just bought the top Tapos. The first ones I have are the Casas.
Okay, yeah, I don't know why they have two different lines of smart plugs, but it doesn't matter because the government will ban the sale of those devices soon anyway.
Yeah, so get them while you can, I guess.
But yeah, I've since I kind of standardized on TP-Link smart plugs since I started buying them, because I found them to be quite reliable and easy to set up.
They also do power strips that each individual outlet is controlled.
Man, that's pretty nice too.
They're kind of expensive.
Yeah,
but if you have like,
every time I've looked at those, it was like, that's a little more than the convenience would warrant.
But if you're doing the energy monitoring, it's pretty handy. So
yeah.
Anyway, I guess that'll do it for us this month, or this week rather.
This was probably a pretty deeply technical episode. Hopefully, if you liked it, let us know.
Yeah. And if you didn't, also let us know, I guess.
If you needed a little more context, let us know that too.
Yeah.
You know, when you're deep in the shit, sometimes it just pours out, you know. Sometimes you just got to get in there and talk about the stuff.
Well, so just conceptually, I like showing both the good work and the bad work.
Yeah.
You know, we learned how to do this stuff because we made mistakes along the way.
Yes.
The DNS thing going down was a result of me making a series of fuck ups.
Yep. Like my UPS stuff is kind of similar in some ways. Like,
yeah,
I feel like this, if anything, this episode is maybe a good object lesson in the ins and outs, or rather ups and downs of like running a lot of home infrastructure of this type.
Well, yeah. And I think there's a real argument for sharing the learning. Like, you know, I made the joke about it being a blameless postmortem because, you know, I'm the only one that cared really. It was a minor inconvenience for everybody else in the house, but it's worth thinking about what happened when this failed, and had I gone through and at some point just unplugged the main, like, so folks know the reason I was getting in up and down behavior on the primary for the failed hardware is it seems like it was feeding back DNS queries for stuff it had cached, but wasn't going out and getting new DNS information from the broader internet. That's why some stuff was working and some stuff wasn't. So if it was in the cache, it was fine. And if it wasn't, it just wouldn't work. And the eventual solve, I don't think I ever actually said this, but I just swapped the card into the secondary one and then plugged it back in, and it booted up fine.
Oh yeah, if they're both Pi 3s, you could just...
Same exact hardware, same, yeah. this is the benefit of doing both on Pi 3s, right?
Yeah, that's sure. I hadn't thought about that. Some of that caching behavior might also be OS dependent, like some depending on the operating system.
That's true.
Some of them cache DNS results in different ways.
That makes sense. True.
For some period of time.
But anyway, yeah, I we all make mistakes, and a lot of times people will hit me with questions or messages on things like, hey, you'd never do something like this. And I was like, man, I have absolutely done stuff that's that stupid or much stupider in many cases.
Yeah,
so.
I rendered our network non-functional through similar Pi-hole or blocky, in my case, issues.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this. It was last summer.
We did, yeah.
It was like the morning I had a flight where I was about to be gone for 2.5 weeks. I rendered the entire home network unusable like an hour before I needed to leave for the airport, and I could not strand my girlfriend without internet for 2 weeks.
See, I did that once with plumbing. I was getting ready to go on a trip for about a week and a half, and I trimmed my beard the morning before I left, as I do, and I was like, oh man, it's too much of a pain in the ass to get all the beard trimmings out and put them in the trash or the toilet like I usually do. So I just ran them down the sink, and then about 3 hours after I landed, my wife was like, hey, was the bathroom sink slow when you left? I was like, oh man.
Oh boy.
Let me tell you where the sink snake is.
Yep.
Also, plastic semi-disposable sink snakes, incredible, like they cost $1.50 each. It will save you. It's such a delightful thing to just get in there and just jam through whatever is clogging up your sink. Anyway. Now that the plumbing talk is over, I guess it's time to thank our patrons and remind everybody that this is a patron-supported podcast. We wouldn't be here without you all. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We are on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/techpod, where for $5 a month, you can support the show and get access to the Discord, where we learn stuff constantly and meet all sorts of interesting people who have weird and novel computer problems and projects that they're working on and all sorts of fun stuff. And you also get access to the Patreon exclusive episodes where you can see the kind of origin story of these kinds of episodes. So again, it's patreon.com/techpod. We appreciate everybody's support a ton. It helps us keep the show going, which we love.
We do.
And we especially appreciate our executive producer tier patrons, including Jason Lee, Nextlander.net, it's .com, Andrew Slosky, Jordan Lippett, The Bunny Word Spiral. That's a Nine Inch Nails reference.
Yeah, sure. I believe that.
David Allen, James Kamek, and Pantheon, makers of the HS3 high-speed 3D printer. Thank you also so much.
Thank you.
We will be back next week with another edition of the Tech Pod. I think, is it questions next week, or we have one more?
Yes. I believe next. Let me triple check. Yep. Nope. Next week is in fact the last Sunday of the month. Also, we skipped questions last month.
Oh, so we have a double dose of questions.
So we should have plenty to choose from.
Yeah. So,
but don't let that stop you from asking more.
I was going to say, you can send your emails to techpod@content.town, or you can send your questions in the Discord, if you're in the Discord, to the Question Seeking Answers channel, and we will answer a select number of them on next week's episode. I'm going to say, we know that we forgot the Neo Geo Pocket Mini. And
the regular Neo Geo.
And the regular Neo Geo. There's is there anything else we forgot to rank in there?
There was something else somebody brought up. I can't remember what it was. I think somebody mentioned the Sega Master System, but I don't remember that having.
Well, we'll have to investigate that.
An intro.
Let's see. We didn't do any Linux startup sounds. Adam Patrick Murray.
No.
Nobody cares.
I mean, I care. I'd like to hear them, but I think that's out of scope for that episode.
They're all user configurable to the point that I don't think there's any canonical true ones. So.
Also, there are so many desktop environments. Like, where do you even start?
Yeah, I can't. They're not on YouTube. If they're not on YouTube, they don't count. But yeah, so if people have questions, if they have feedback, if they have things that they want to add or things that they think we got wrong, please techpod@content.town or the Question Seeking Answers channel. We will be back next week with answers to all of your important questions, every single one. But until then, please consider the environment before printing this podcast.